Hello, my name's Jorb. I love gear. I'm talking about Eurorack again. Can you guys believe it? Today, I'm just going to focus on one module. This is the T-Rex Effects Replicator Eurorack version, module version. It's real tape delay that runs off of these little proprietary cassettes. It's quite power hungry. I'll put the actual power consumption on screen here. And it has a lot of cool features, but it isn't perfect. And I can't ignore the fact that it takes up a shitload of space. And in Eurorack, when space is one of your tightest resources next to money, holy shit. It's really hard to justify having something this big just so that it's real tape delay and not a digital emulation. So, alrighty, if you are subscribed, really appreciate you coming back. If you aren't, if you're new, which is pretty likely because I haven't talked about Eurorack very much, I encourage you to look around my channel a little bit. The only other Eurorack video I really have is about the Castor and Pollux, which I think is badass, or the Suit and Tie Guy Sound Labs booth at KnobCon 2021, KnobCon number 9. But, look around my channel, see if there's anything else that interests you. Encourage you to subscribe if you aren't already. It means a lot to me. And then you don't have to search for me in the future. You'll just find stuff about I'm not gonna salvage this take. I'm just gonna wrap it up. Subscribe if you want. Don't if you don't. Okay. Shall we begin? My patch is pretty simple. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pull up my phone and record myself tracing along. So currently my patch, the KB37, has gate and pitch coming out of its left side, pitch into the Castor and Pollux, out of the mixed output. Currently just using the right side, that's going through channel 1 of the quad VCA, which is being controlled by channel 1 of the Quadra, which is an ASR, attack, sustain as long as I hold it, and the second knob is release, and that is eventually going into this Dope for SEM filter. Sounds pretty good. Mixed all the way to the low pass side. That filter is being controlled by this Lifeforms ADSR. Exactly what you'd expect. Very standard synth voice there. I also have the I also have my filter being controlled by the mod wheel. And Aftertouch turns up channel 2 of my quad VCA. I'll turn it up and show you. I have this third channel of the Quadra and LFO also going to the filter, but they're getting mixed here in the triplet. Okay, so a super standard patch. Filters on the mod wheel and LFO modulation of the filter is on Aftertouch. And then we go into the mono in of the T-Rex replicator, and that mono out is going into the mono output, which all the way then goes into my mixer. Cool? Okay. So, all that said and done, let's hear what we're talking about today, the T-Rex replicator. So I currently have it off. So here's my dry signal. And we'll turn on the replicator. You immediately hear a little bit of noise. Okay, and so it's a little quiet as it is right now. And I'm going to go over all the controls, but not in order, in the order that makes sense to hear them. So volume is overall level. That's your dry and your delayed. Saturate increases the gain to the input of the tape. Delay level is increasing the output afterwards. Hear it a little bit better. Feedback is, of course, how much of our signal gets fed back into the beginning, giving us more repeats. Time, you notice that reels change speed. Of course, how long our repeats are. And I find that I think it does some combination of EQ compensation depending on where your time is at, which in effect changes how many repeats you can actually get. This heads control controls which of the tape heads here. So there's two. You know what? Why don't I crack this open and show you right now? I wasn't going to do it until later, but it makes sense to show you now. So if you aren't familiar with the tape delay, this first one is an erase head, then we record, and then two play heads. And so when we're on the red setting for our tape heads, whatever's currently on the tape gets erased here on the first erase head, and then our signal gets recorded here and then played back at the first one when it's red. So I'll turn the time way down and the feedback way down. So it's not even... So it's pretty short. And if I go to green, that's this one. And it's a longer time delay because it's physically further away from the record head. And you can, of course, put them both on at the same time. And then we introduce feedback. And modulate our time. Sounds pretty good to me. Breaks up really nice. I'm going to put this shield back on. We have our tap tempo. So if you watch, this is really fast right now because I turned time down really low. And there's our sound. But if I tap in a tempo, this slows down. So does our delay. I thought it was 1-to-1 with the red. I thought maybe it's 1-to-1 with the green. Doesn't seem to be. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be 1-to-1 with either. I don't know if that's my unit or a problem with them in general, or and maybe it's triplets with the red one, which doesn't make any sense to me. If I hit right with the light, you know, it does seem to be dun, 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 dun. Weird. Okay, so if it's tied to anything, it's triplets to the red, but I'll stop focusing on that. Let's get back to green because it's easier to... Oh gosh, it does sound good. Chorus modulates the pitch of the delay line. We have a switch and a knob for a chorus setting, which modulates the pitch of your delayed line. Let's turn it way up so we can hear it. Hear it? Sort of manufacturing some of that warble, if you want to think of it like that. Which I quite like. We have a filter that I've had engaged this whole time because it's really hard to use it without it, okay? And it's sort of a low pass over the entire signal because you get this whining. There it is open. Some extra noise. And I don't know if that affects the feedback line or just the output at the end. It seems to be just the output at the end. There's probably already plenty of filtering on the feedback line. But kind of hard to use without it unless that's an effect that you're going for, okay? Okay, we speed up our time again. Where's my wheel? I'm going to take my mod wheel output and route it over to the CV on here. So here's our feedback CV. Currently at 0. You see the pitch wheel here? I can move it way up. That, of course, can be affected with an LFO or an envelope, but this is Eurorack anything. I more like to do time on the mod wheel. As I move see my thumb over here. I'm changing the motor speed. Really fun. I can just play with that forever. But I'm going to move that back to where it was. There you go. You can get it to self-oscillate at certain settings. I think it filters out certain noise. You can only drive it so hard, and I get some distortion in my filter if I turn the level up much higher. And I think, again, turn the saturation up on here, it compensates for it. This might be able to self-oscillate here. Yep, there we go. If you'll notice here, I think I got it and the volume's low enough that it won't kill your ears. It's getting close to self-oscillation and then cutting back, and look, it just did it on its own. Let's see if I can get it to do it again. Yeah, here we go. Listen to it drop out without any input from me. So I think it's trying to stop feeding back. Which I don't like. If I want this to be fucked up and horrible, I want to be able to make it sound fucked up and horrible. I'm going to try and send it more voltage than it would expect. So I'm going to put my wheel output here through channel 4, this VCA, boost it, and turn it all the way up. Okay, and then move that output all the way to the time CV over here. Is that slower? Yeah, you can get it to go a little bit slower in time if you feed it extra CV. Is that also true for feedback? Let's turn that off, turn our speed up, plug into the feedback CV, and then we have the wheel with the boost. There it goes, self-oscillating. Okay, so maybe it is more, or at least the same. Yep, there's that compensation again. That is good to know that you do actually have the full range, at least, of the CV on both. I wasn't sure that that was the case. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple other tricks here. So where is my gate? My gate is right here. I'm also going to run this into channel 2 of just a decay envelope there on my Quadra. And then I'm going to run a reasonably sized cable that I finally have. I'm going to run that envelope out into channel 3 of the triplet just to attenuate it. And then I need a long guy. Then I need a longer boy. And I'm going to go out of that attenuated output into the time CV. And so what's going to happen, you know, we're going to modulate time with every key press. And how much depended here. Less of a range. There we go. Through all this, there's a switch here to kill the dry signal. So you just hear what's on the tape. Okay. Alrighty. I got my CV out of Okay, I took our envelope out of time CV there. That's the sound I'm working with now, and I'm going to flick this switch down, which is the kill dry switch, so you only hear the delayed signal. I'll turn the time all the way up. Which I think is one of the places where this becomes a really interesting idea. Okay, I'm going to set up an ARP. Low feedback. And turn time all the way up. And there's chorus. And it's loud. We can add another head. And we can add feedback. This is my instant lo-fi junkie, although by instant, I quite literally mean delayed. There it is, full wet. I think that's really interesting. One thing I haven't done yet, and I'm not going to do it today, the only reason I'm filming this video is because I want to sell this. Because I really don't need it anymore. And it takes up a shitload of space. But one of the things you could do, if you're sequencing this pattern via MIDI or anything that's pretty flexible, you can shift it all in time. See, again, it's like it compensates. So sometimes you find these sweet spots where it'll just go. But the settings aren't really plugged in. Look, I'm at low saturation and not super high feedback. So I found that very confusing, that it is certainly trying to compensate to not feedback. Even though you can find settings that'll let you. Anyway, I think this is doing the full wet and just having, you know, this is my warbly, tapey sound. Again, the self-oscillation. And manually taking the tape heads off. I think that's really interesting in and of itself. And if you're sequencing everything via MIDI, you can just shift in time everything that was going to come through the modular a little earlier. So you can have the delay and all the vibe of pulling it right off the tape without, not being able to sequence it. Or if you're recording, of course, or if you're working in a DAW, recording everything and then just shifting it in time so it lines up back where it should have. cool options, but we'll get our dry signal back in there. So, I find it hard to summarize, but in general, it sounds really good. The controls, none of them are quite what I would want. I want to be able to blow it up more with saturation. I wish it didn't try to compensate for feedback or EQ on time. I wish those were controls we had separately. I wish chorus was a rate and a depth. I don't think it's modulating the speed of the motor. Correct me if I'm wrong, but here it is, full depth and on. And I don't hear the motor changing at all. So if it is like a vibrato added later, that's a little disappointing. You can, of course, see there it goes, modulate with an LFO the time yourself, which, you know what? I said it, shit. I might as well do it. So I'm going to take what I was using for my filter and run that into our time CV. Okay, I made my own chorus. I have this third LFO running to the time, and I'm attenuating it here. So there it is, just on a little bit. Let's listen to wet only. Okay, I'm bringing the dry. I'll turn it down. Feedback up, time up. Actually, this isn't changing anything right now. So I'll do that with my mod wheel, of course. So, modulating yourself can be kind of fun. But I wish that those settings for rate and depth were in the chorus, and the chorus was actually modulating the motor, because it's obviously not a problem to modulate the motor, because here I am plugging it in, right? They're letting us do it. And they clearly have some sort of an internal LFO if they're letting it run on the chorus here. So why can't we do that with the motor? But I could go on with little complaints, little problems. If you want tape delay in a Eurorack format, you're probably going to buy this and not anything else. If you kind of want it, you will probably get something digital, like the tip-top echoes, and take up much less power and much less space and have better control, and it'll be in stereo. So if you want the real thing, it is available, and it sounds cool. Who's the guy who's always doing Micro Freak through cassettes? Is that Blank Forums? This is your instant blank forms machine. So there you go. I quite like playing with it, and I get lost in those long tape delays, which I do on anything, but you can do that on a smaller module and take up less space. So anyway, it sounds super dope. T-Rex Replicator module. They're about, I think I paid about $500 for this. Eurorack, people in Eurorack are comfortable paying shitloads of money for everything, so I don't think that's super unreasonable. You know, that's what, 2 other delay modules? Does this give you twice the vibe of something that costs $250? Kinda, yeah. It really does. You also have to consider it's fucking huge and takes up a bunch of power, so all those things will come into consideration. I hope you gave you a good look at this. My name's been Jorb. I love Eurorack. I will see you in the next one.